The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was unlike anything found on Earth. High, arched ceilings stretched far above, adorned with shimmering lights from alien stars, and holographic images of distant worlds flickered across the walls. The council chamber was filled with beings from all corners of the galaxy, each representing their highly advanced race. Yet, despite the technological marvels around them, a deep sense of arrogance filled the room. They looked down upon Earth, a planet they believed to be nothing more than a primitive speck in the grand scale of the universe. The council had gathered to discuss Earth, a subject they had long deemed insignificant. Their voices echoed with laughter as they spoke of humanity's backwardness and inferiority. The sight of Earth's crumbling cities, its struggling population, and its outdated technologies seemed to amuse them. They mocked the idea that a species so young could ever challenge the advanced civilizations of the galaxy. They still used fossil fuels, one alien delegate snickered. Primitive weapons, primitive tools. What is it they hope to accomplish? They have no fleet worthy of notice, another alien added, shaking its head in disbelief. Barely enough to protect themselves from their own natural disasters. This planet's technology is nothing compared to ours. The laughter that filled the room only grew louder as the aliens exchanged jabs at Earth's technological shortcomings. They were certain that no force from this primitive planet could ever stand in their way. Their high-tech weapons, powerful warships, and centuries of experience made them unstoppable in their eyes. And Earth, with all its flaws, would be nothing more than another easy conquest. But in the midst of their mocking, one figure stood alone, unmoved by their words. Captain Elias Kane, Earth's representative, had been silent until now. Standing tall in the center of the chamber, his face was hard, his eyes unwavering. He was a man of few words, but those few words carried the weight of an entire planet. His uniform, though simple compared to the intricate garb of the alien delegates, was adorned with symbols of Earth's strength and unity. He had witnessed the growing fear of humanity and understood the dangers that lay ahead. His mission was clear: to make sure the Council understood that they were about to face an enemy unlike any they had ever encountered. As the laughter echoed around the room, Elias took a slow, deliberate step forward. He was calm, but the anger in his voice was unmistakable when he finally spoke. "You think we're weak?" he asked, his voice cutting through the laughter like a blade. "You think you've figured us out? You have no idea what you're dealing with." The room fell silent. The smug faces of the aliens turned to one of confusion. They had expected submission, fear, or even ignorance. But what they saw in Elias's eyes was far from the weakness they had anticipated. It was a look of unwavering confidence, of a man who had nothing to prove yet everything to fight for. Elias paused, letting the silence hang in the air. The aliens seemed uncertain now, their previous arrogance beginning to fade. They had mocked Earth, but they didn't truly know what it was capable of. "You don't understand," Elias continued, his words low but laced with a deadly certainty. "You have no idea what humanity is capable of. You think because we're young, because we haven't mastered the galaxy, that we are beneath you." He let the words sink in. "You couldn't be more wrong. You've made a mistake, and you're going to learn the hard way." His words were like a punch to the gut. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, their confident demeanor starting to crack. They had expected compliance, but instead they had received a warning, one that shook their foundations. The silence in the room was now heavy, oppressive, as the alien delegates searched Elias's face for any hint of humor or sarcasm. But there was none. "I'm giving you a choice," Elias said, his voice cold as ice. "You can leave now. You can run, and perhaps you will survive. But if you stay, if you push this further, Earth will not bend to your will. We will fight back, and we will win." The council members, who had once been so certain of their superiority, were now hesitant. Their previous laughter had been replaced by a tense unease. They had never faced a species so unafraid, so defiant. And for the first time in this entire meeting, They began to wonder if they had underestimated humanity in a way they would soon regret. Elias turned and walked toward the door, his back to the council. His final words rang out across the chamber, sealing their fate. "Run. It's your only chance." The words echoed in the empty space, a warning that could not be ignored. The alien delegates remained silent for a moment, processing what had just transpired. Their arrogance had faltered, but it was too late. The seeds of doubt had been planted. As Elias walked out of the chamber, he knew he had made his point. But this was only the beginning. He had delivered a message, and now it was time to act. Earth was no longer going to be the subject of ridicule. It was time to prove that humanity was not a weak, primitive species. It was time to show the galaxy that Earth had its own power, and it was about to unleash it. As Elias made his way down the corridor, he activated a hidden communications channel. His voice was low, urgent. "Initiate the countdown. The fleet is ready. Earth is striking back." Back on Earth, in a heavily fortified underground bunker, a team of Earth's most brilliant minds watched intently as the countdown began. Secretly, humanity had been preparing for this moment for years. The Galactic Council had no idea that Earth had been quietly developing its own advanced technologies, building a powerful fleet hidden from their prying eyes. Now, the time had come to reveal what humanity was truly capable of. The camera zoomed in on a screen displaying the countdown. T-minus 10 minutes. The room was filled with tension as the countdown continued. Every human leader, every scientist, every soldier knew that the next few minutes would change everything. On Earth, the hidden fleet was being activated. Cloaking devices hummed to life, making the ships invisible to enemy sensors. AI systems began running calculations at lightning speed, coordinating thousands of warships. Advanced robots, designed for both space and ground combat, powered up, ready for battle. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that they were not the weaklings the Council believed them to be. They were predators, deadly, cunning, and ready to strike. As the countdown reached its final seconds, a screen flashed across the room. "All systems are green. The fleet is ready." The time for talk was over. Earth had warned the Council. Now the fate of the galaxy would be decided. Earth's fleet was about to make its move, and the Galactic Council would learn the hard way that when humanity says run, it is not a warning, it is a promise. T-minus 3, 2, 1. The fleet was unleashed, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the galaxy began. Earth was no longer a joke. It was a force to be reckoned with. Deep underground, in a secret military bunker, a high-level meeting was taking place. The hum of machinery and the glow of advanced monitors illuminated the room, where Earth's military leaders had gathered in hushed urgency. They knew that the moment Elias had stepped into the Galactic Council chamber, the stakes had escalated. They also knew that the warning delivered by their captain was just the beginning. Earth was now in the crosshairs, and the time to prove humanity's strength had come. General Mira Volkov stood at the head of the table, her sharp eyes scanning the room filled with military leaders and top-tier scientists. The tension in the air was palpable. Outside, Earth's hidden fleet was ready, cloaked and waiting. But now, they needed to make sure that their technologies, once thought to be years away from development, were ready for battle. They had only one chance to show the galaxy that Earth had teeth, and they would bite. "Activate the cloaking devices," General Volkov ordered, her voice steady but laced with anticipation. In the far corner of the room, a team of engineers and tech experts quickly worked to bring up a massive holographic display. It flickered to life, showing the layout of the secret arsenal Earth had spent years building, hidden from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council. Eye-controlled warships, designed to be far more powerful than anything the Council possessed, hummed to life, their sleek, dark exteriors glowing as their engines powered up. These ships weren't just ships. They were living, breathing entities, driven by sophisticated artificial intelligence that could think and adapt faster than any human mind. Earth's military had developed a force that no one could have anticipated, a fleet powered by the most advanced tech in the galaxy. The real surprise, however, was the army of robotic soldiers that stood waiting. These robots were more than just machines. They were built with human-like agility, equipped with advanced weaponry, and programmed to fight alongside human soldiers as equals. These robots weren't simply tools. They were warriors, engineered to follow their commands with precision and speed, making them an indispensable part of Earth's military force. The robots stood in perfect formation, awaiting orders, ready to follow their human counterparts into battle. Captain Elias Kane, who had been monitoring the situation from a control room just outside, stepped into the war room, his jaw set in determination. He had always known Earth had the potential to fight back, but seeing it all laid out in front of him brought a strange sense of awe mixed with dread. This was real now. There was no turning back. "We've spent years preparing for this moment," Elias said, addressing the room. "These technologies will help us defend our home, but they can only do so much. It's up to us, our soldiers, to stand together and fight as one. Our enemy is out there, and they won't give up without a fight." The tension in the room deepened. The reality of what lay ahead was dawning on everyone. Humanity had been underestimated for far too long, and now they were about to show the galaxy what they were made of. But Elias knew the Council would retaliate. They would not take this humiliation lightly. "Captain," General Volkov said, looking at him intently, "the cloaked fleet is ready for a test run. We need to see how they perform against a simulated alien force. You've seen the data. This is the moment to prove that Earth's power is not just a bluff." Elias nodded grimly. "Do it. We can't afford any mistakes." The room fell silent as the test was initiated. Earth's AI-driven warships, all of which had been cloaked for their protection, were now unleashed. The holographic display shifted, showing the simulation. A fleet of mock alien ships had been deployed, their weapons primed for battle. Within moments, Earth's AI warships moved into position. They were faster, smarter, and more lethal than anything the alien races could possibly imagine. The first salvo of fire erupted, and the mock alien fleet stood no chance. The AI-controlled ships fired with pinpoint accuracy, their advanced weaponry devastating the enemy with ease. Explosions lit up the simulation as alien ships were torn apart in a matter of seconds. The human fleet didn't just win, it dominated. The simulation was over in minutes, the mock alien fleet completely destroyed without losing a single human ship. The power of the cloaked fleet, paired with the unmatched precision of the AI, had been demonstrated with breathtaking clarity. The military leaders and scientists exchanged looks of astonishment and quiet satisfaction. Earth had just taken the first major step in proving its strength. But Elias knew this victory was only symbolic. The Council would retaliate with everything they had, and Earth's warships, though impressive, could not win the war alone. They would need every soldier, every human, to fight back, to rise up, to protect what they loved. He turned to face the room again. "The simulation is over, but this is just the beginning. The Council will not take this lightly. They will come for us, and when they do, we'll be ready." Just as Elias finished speaking, a voice from the back of the room interrupted the quiet hum of machinery. It was Bonner, a young soldier who had been part of Earth's first line of defense for years. He had a family, a wife and 2 kids, and everyone in the room knew how much they meant to him. Bonner stood up slowly, his face a mix of resolve and fear. "Sir," he said, his voice surprisingly steady, "I know what I signed up for, but I have a family to think about. If this goes south, if we don't win." He trailed off, his voice cracking for just a moment. The weight of the situation was real for him, as it was for every soldier in the room. Elias could see the fear in Bonner's eyes, but there was something else there too, something deeper, a fierce loyalty and determination. Elias walked over to Bonner, his hand resting gently on the young soldier's shoulder. I know the risks, Elias said, his voice low but firm. But we're not in this alone. We fight for our homes, for our families, for each other. And we will fight together. We'll make sure our families don't have to fear for the future. Bonner nodded, wiping his eyes quickly. For Earth, he said, a small but sincere smile creeping onto his face. For Earth, Elias repeated, his voice filled with pride. We stand together, no matter what comes next. The bond between the soldiers in that room was unbreakable. Despite the advanced technology they wielded, it was their unity, their shared determination, and their love for their home that would make the difference. They weren't just fighting for victory, they were fighting for survival. As the room went silent once again, Elias looked around at the soldiers standing beside him. He could feel the weight of their commitment. This was no longer just a mission, it was a fight for their future. Outside, Earth's military forces began to prepare for the inevitable. The cloaked fleet moved into position, and robotic soldiers were deployed in key locations. The countdown had begun. Earth was ready, and no matter what came next, they would make sure the Galactic Council learned the hard way that humanity was not to be underestimated. The test run had shown Earth's strength, but Elias knew this was only a preview. The real battle was coming, and every soldier, every warship, and every piece of technology would have to work together to ensure victory. The fate of Earth was in their hands, and as the last preparations were made, Elias couldn't help but feel the weight of his own words. We're ready, he whispered to himself, and we won't back down. With that, Earth's military forces took their positions. The Galactic Council had made their mistake. Now, humanity was ready to prove just how wrong they had been. The battle for Earth had begun. The stars above Earth glowed with a menacing light as the Galactic Council's massive fleet approached. It was an armada unlike anything humanity had ever faced, a collection of hundreds of ships from all corners of the galaxy, each bristling with advanced weapons and technology. The Council was confident. Their commanders had laughed at Earth's primitive nature, mocking Captain Elias Kane's warning. The mission was dubbed Operation Cleanup, and it was supposed to be a quick strike, a reminder that Earth had no place in the galaxy's power structure. But as the fleet of alien ships moved closer, ready to obliterate humanity, the unexpected happened. Earth's cloaking devices, hidden beneath layers of security and secrecy, activated in unison. The human fleet, invisible to the alien eyes, disappeared from the radar screens of the Galactic Council. Panic spread through the alien fleet as they realized they were in the dark. Where are they? One of the alien commanders barked, frantically checking his instruments. There was no sign of Earth's ships. The ships that should have been easily crushed were now a ghostly presence, vanishing and reappearing like a nightmare on the radar. Captain Elias Kane stood at the helm of Earth's lead warship, watching the screen with quiet anticipation. His heart raced, but his face remained calm. The time had come for Earth to show its strength. The alien fleet was in their territory now, and they had no idea what was about to hit them. Activate weapons, Elias ordered, his voice steady. Let's remind them why they should have listened. A soft hum filled the command room as the energy weapons on Earth's warships powered up. It was time. The cloaking devices had done their job, rendering the human fleet invisible, but now it was time to strike. Earth's ships, now fully visible, unleashed a barrage of advanced energy weapons and railguns, each shot more powerful than anything the aliens had seen before. The first explosion rocked the alien fleet. The impact of the energy weapons tore through the shields of the alien ships, creating massive bursts of fire and destruction. The sound of impacts echoed through space, and the once confident Galactic Council fleet began to break apart under the overwhelming force. The human fleet's railguns fired with precision, sending streaks of plasma across the void, obliterating alien vessels with each strike. The alien fleet was caught completely off guard, and they struggled to retaliate. Explosions rang out, filling the cold vacuum of space with fire and chaos. Earth's ships darted through the battlefield with incredible speed, utilizing the cloak to evade counterattacks, only revealing themselves long enough to deal a devastating blow before vanishing again. Alien ships, once thought to be invincible, exploded into fragments as Earth's new weapons tore through their hulls. The warships' energy shields flickered and failed under the relentless barrage. In the midst of this mayhem, the leader of the alien fleet, the commander of the Galactic Council's forces, spoke in a frantic tone, his voice tinged with panic. "They've activated war machines," he screamed. "We're losing. Retreat immediately." His words echoed through the communication channels, but they came too late. The battle was lost, and Earth's fleet was in control. But despite their sudden success, Ilias knew that victory was far from certain. The Council's forces were relentless, and the destruction was only just beginning. Earth's fleet had dealt a severe blow, but there was still much to fight for. As the battle raged on, something unexpected happened. A flash of light illuminated the battlefield, and a lone ship appeared, moving toward Earth's forces at breakneck speed. It was a smaller ship, but it was fast, and it was carrying a payload of devastating power. An enemy vessel that had slipped through the cloak. Before Elias could give the order to strike, the ship unleashed a destructive weapon aimed directly at Earth's lead warship. In that moment, Bonner, the soldier who had stood beside Elias through all of this, made a choice. He was stationed on one of the smaller ships, and he saw the incoming threat. Without hesitation, he activated his ship's thrusters and moved directly into the path of the alien weapon. "Bonner, no," Elias shouted through the comms, but it was too late. Bonner's ship collided with the incoming blast, the explosion reverberating across space in a fiery shockwave. The force was devastating, and Bonner's sacrifice was instantaneous. The battlefield grew quiet for a moment as the effects of the explosion rippled through the space around them. Elias's heart stopped. He could see Bonner's ship disintegrate into nothingness, a tiny dot of light swallowed by the void of space. But even in the wake of his death, Bonner's final words rang in Elias's ears as though spoken through the very fabric of the universe. "Make them pay." Those words echoed in Elias's mind, fueling his determination. Bonner had given his life for the mission, and now it was up to the rest of them to finish what he had started. The Galactic Council had made a deadly mistake, and now humanity would make them regret it. The remaining human fleet roared back into action. The cloaking devices reactivated, and the warships, now filled with a renewed fury, continued to strike. Elias, though shaken by the loss of a comrade, held his focus. He would honor Bonner's sacrifice. Earth would make the Galactic Council pay for every life lost. In the midst of the battle, Elias turned to his crew, his voice steady but full of emotion. "For Bonner," he said, his eyes burning with the fire of vengeance. "For Earth." The crew nodded in unison, their resolve as solid as steel. They would not stop until the Galactic Council had been brought to its knees. The fight was far from over, but now it had a personal meaning. Bonner's death was not just a loss. It was a spark, igniting a fire within them all. The war had only just begun, but humanity was ready to show the galaxy that they would never be underestimated again. The Galactic Council would regret ever mocking Earth. The Galactic Council had suffered a humiliating defeat, their once proud fleet shattered by Earth's unexpected power. Earth's advanced weaponry, cloaking devices, and war machines had turned the tide, leaving the Council reeling. Their once confident commanders, who had laughed at humanity, now sat in their darkened war rooms, nursing their pride and plotting their revenge. The Council's first response to their defeat was anger. They underestimated humanity's resolve, believing that their superior technology could overpower the humans at any given moment. Yet, as they prepared for their retaliatory strike, they failed to understand one crucial thing. Humans don't back down, and Earth was more than ready for whatever the Council could throw at them. Captain Elias Kane, Earth's bold leader, stood before his commanders, unwavering in his determination. "We've hit them hard, but they will come back with everything they've got. We need to strike first, take the fight to their doorstep." His voice was calm, but beneath it lay the burning need for vengeance. The council had killed Bonner, and they had no idea what they had started. The plan was simple, but daring. Elias would lead a bold counterattack, targeting one of the council's strongest fortresses deep within enemy space. This fortress was an imposing structure, surrounded by layers of defenses and advanced weaponry. The council believed it was invincible, but Earth had something they didn't: a hunger for survival, a drive to win at all costs. As Earth's fleet moved towards the heart of enemy territory, Elias knew the mission would be risky. The council had regrouped quickly, and their forces were stronger than ever. But Elias was certain of one thing: their overconfidence would be their downfall. Earth had surprised them once. Now, they would surprise them again. The human fleet arrived at the outskirts of the fortress. Ships cloaked, they approached quietly, undetected by the alien defenses. But this wasn't just a space battle. It was a mission to infiltrate the heart of the enemy's empire and strike directly at its core. Elias, along with a select group of elite soldiers, would lead a small assault team onto the fortress itself, using Earth's advanced stealth technology to infiltrate the massive alien stronghold. As the human soldiers prepared for the mission, they were equipped with the latest in Earth's technology: stealth suits that allowed them to blend seamlessly into their surroundings, AI-controlled drones, and robotic soldiers that would fight alongside them, all making them a formidable force. The soldiers moved with precision, their steps light as they prepared to board the enemy fortress. The moment the human soldiers touched down, all hell broke loose. The doors of the alien fortress slammed open, and the soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. The corridors of the fortress were dark and eerie, the air thick with the hum of alien machinery. It was like stepping into the heart of a monster's lair, and the humans knew they would have to move fast and strike hard to succeed. Laser blasts illuminated the dark corridors as the humans fought their way forward, encountering robotic enemies that had been programmed to defend the fortress. These robots were powerful, armed with deadly energy weapons and razor-sharp claws. But Earth's soldiers were faster, smarter, and more determined. The laser blasts that filled the halls were like fireworks in the night, lighting up the faces of soldiers as they fought for their lives. In the midst of the chaos, Elias led his team with a steady hand. His heart was heavy, but he couldn't let that show. Every decision, every action could mean life or death for his soldiers. As they pushed forward, the sounds of battle echoed through the fortress. The soldiers moved through narrow hallways, evading traps and taking down enemies with precise, calculated strikes. One moment, a soldier was standing beside Elias, firing his weapon to cover their advance, and the next, he was gone. A robotic enemy had blasted a hole through the wall, sending a deadly shockwave through the corridor. The soldier, Bonner's younger brother, was hit by the blast, and Elias watched in horror as he crumpled to the ground, critically wounded. "Get him out of here," Elias shouted to his second-in-command, Sergeant Harper, but Harper's face was filled with doubt. "He's not going to make it, Elias," Harper replied, the sadness in his voice cutting through the air. Elias's eyes locked with the soldiers, and for a brief moment, everything slowed. Bonner's younger brother was struggling to stay conscious, but his condition was grave. Elias knew what he had to do, but it tore at his heart. "I'll come back for you," Elias promised, his voice full of conviction. But he knew the reality. They couldn't afford to lose this fight. "I'll make sure you get home." The soldier's eyes glistened with gratitude, and then his body went limp. The life drained from his face as Elias turned and ran, leaving him behind. The rest of the soldiers pressed on, but Elias's heart was heavy. It was the ultimate sacrifice, and one that would haunt him forever. Bonner's younger brother had given his life for the mission, just as his older brother had done. He couldn't let their deaths be in vain. The council had taken far too much already, and Elias vowed they would pay. As the humans made their way deeper into the fortress, the final showdown was on the horizon. The walls trembled with the power of the alien defenses, and the faint hum of energy shields filled the air. The soldiers moved swiftly, eliminating any remaining threats. Their goal was clear: destroy the heart of the fortress, cripple the Council's ability to retaliate, and ensure that Earth's victory would be decisive. But the Council was ready. As Elias and his team reached the control room, they encountered fierce resistance. The alien commander in charge of the fortress had been waiting for them, his eyes glowing with malice. "You think you can defeat us?" The alien commander sneered, his voice laced with contempt. "This is only the beginning. You're playing in forces you cannot comprehend." Elias stepped forward, his voice cold and unwavering. "We've already won," he said. "And you'll learn why humanity is not to be underestimated." With that, Elias pressed a button on his wrist, and a massive explosion rocked the fortress. The walls shook violently, and the control room plunged into chaos. The lights flickered and then went out, leaving the soldiers in the dark. But the damage had been done. The fortress was crumbling, and the Galactic Council would never recover from this blow. As Elias and his soldiers made their way back to their ship, they knew that this victory would be remembered for generations. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. The Council may have laughed at Earth, but now they had seen just how deadly humanity could be when pushed to the brink. In the end, the sacrifice of Bonner's younger brother, the loss of so many brave soldiers, would be honored. Elias would return to Earth, victorious but forever scared. The war was far from over, but Earth had shown that it would not go down without a fight. The galaxy would remember the day humanity struck back. The air was thick with tension. The Galactic Council, having regrouped from their devastating losses, was now preparing to unleash their final assault on Earth. For weeks, the humans had been celebrating their victories, but they knew the enemy wouldn't stop. The Council, bruised but unbroken, had summoned all their most powerful fleets and the most devastating weapon in their arsenal. They had one goal in mind: wipe Earth off the map and send a message to the galaxy. Never again would any race dare challenge the might of the Galactic Council. Captain Elias Kane stood at the helm of Earth's defense operations, watching the massive alien armada approach on the monitors. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. It was their last stand. The Council had decided to bombard Earth from orbit, using a weapon of unimaginable power, capable of reducing entire cities to ash in an instant. The weapon was known as the Exterminator, a massive, planet-crushing beam of energy that could wipe out the Earth's defenses in a single strike. But Elias wasn't about to let Earth fall without a fight. The humans had already defeated the Council once, and they were ready to do it again. They had no choice. The battle for Earth's survival was about to reach its most desperate and dangerous phase. The battle began as the Council's fleet emerged from hyperspace, descending upon Earth with terrifying speed. The skies above the planet darkened as hundreds of massive warships loomed in orbit, each one armed with the Exterminator weapon. The energy pulse from the weapon would be enough to wipe out entire continents, leaving no trace of human civilization. It was humanity's darkest hour, and yet it was also their greatest chance for redemption. Elias knew that if they didn't act fast, Earth would be lost. The humans had been preparing for this final confrontation for months. Their counterattack would be their last hope. They had one advantage the Council didn't: the element of surprise. They had hacked into the Council's systems using their advanced AI, the very same technology that had been designed to protect Earth. This AI would infiltrate the Council's defense systems and disable their weapons, giving humanity the edge they needed to survive. As the first wave of enemy fire rained down from orbit, the defense systems of Earth sprang into action. Earth's fleet, cloaked in invisibility, launched a barrage of missiles toward the Council's warships. The explosions filled the sky, lighting up the darkness with flashes of red and orange. The missiles hit their targets, tearing through the alien ships, sending shockwaves rippling through the atmosphere. On the ground, Earth's defenses were just as prepared. Anti-aircraft weapons fired powerful projectiles into the sky, creating a dazzling display of explosions as they intercepted enemy ships. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder and the sound of destruction as missiles and energy blasts filled the air, creating a chaotic battlefield in the heavens. But the Council's response was swift and brutal. They launched their devastating weapon, the Exterminator, aimed directly at Earth's surface. The ground trembled as the massive energy beam tore through the atmosphere, cutting a path of destruction toward Earth. The humans had only seconds to stop it. In that moment of chaos, Elias and his team worked tirelessly, coordinating their final assault. They had to act fast. The AI they had been working with for months hacked into the Council's systems, manipulating their energy shields and disabling their weapons. It was a race against time. Earth's defense systems, powered by the same AI, launched a counterstrike that was nothing short of breathtaking. The Exterminator weapon powered up, but before it could fire, Earth's AI took control. The beam flickered and died, its energy siphoned away by Earth's superior technology. The weapon that had once been humanity's greatest fear was now useless, disabled by their own ingenuity. The battle was far from over, but this was a victory. Earth had survived the first wave of attacks. However, the battle was taking its toll. Elias watched as the humans fought with all they had, pushing forward despite the loss of so many brave soldiers. Bonner's younger brother's sacrifice still haunted him. Every explosion, every missile that erupted in the sky seemed to echo his final words. Make them pay. It was that promise that drove Elias forward, that unyielding spirit to never give up, no matter the cost. The humans fought not just for their survival, but for the memory of those they had lost. Soldiers like Bonner and his brother, who had given everything for the cause. The weight of their sacrifice was carried by every soldier on the battlefield, each one determined to honor their fallen comrades. In the heart of the battle, Elias and his crew continued to lead the charge. They knew the Council had a backup plan, and they were ready for it. A second wave of attacks came swiftly, this time with reinforcements from the Council's most powerful fleets. Alien warships blotted out the stars as they descended on Earth's forces, raining down energy blasts and missiles that threatened to overwhelm the humans. But Earth was prepared. Their eye-controlled warships, now operating at peak efficiency, moved with unmatched precision, evading enemy fire and returning it with deadly accuracy. The once feared war machines of the Council were being torn apart by the same force they had once dismissed as weak. The battle for Earth was no longer just a struggle for survival. It was a battle for humanity's place in the galaxy. The humans were proving that their greatest strength was not in their technology, but in their unbreakable will to survive. They were proving that they would never back down, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. As the battle raged on, Elias made his way to the front lines, where the fighting was most intense. His soldiers were relentless, but so were the Council's forces. The AI, once humanity's greatest asset, now had a mind of its own. It made decisions faster than any human could, predicting the enemy's every move and counteracting it with surgical precision. But even with all the advanced technology, the humans knew that they couldn't win the war without making a stand. They had to push forward. They had to fight for every inch of ground. They had to prove that humanity was not just a primitive race, not just another pawn in the galaxy's grand scheme of things. They had to prove that they were not going to let the Galactic Council crush them under its heel. Elias's heart burned with determination. He could feel the weight of every soldier's death, every life sacrificed for the cause. But he knew that Earth would not fall, not while he was still standing. In a final, desperate move, the humans launched one last assault on the Council's flagship, the heart of their operation. As Earth's AI systems disabled the remaining defenses, Elias led a team of soldiers aboard the flagship, prepared to end the war once and for all. The Council had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, to fight, and to endure. It was time for them to learn why humans should never be underestimated. The Galactic Council had come to Earth with the intention of wiping it off the face of the galaxy. They thought they were invincible, but they were wrong. Humanity had risen up, showing the universe what they were truly capable of. And in that final battle, the humans proved that their greatest strength was not in their weapons, but in their spirit. The Council would never make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. The final battle had been fierce. The once proud and terrifying fleet of the Galactic Council lay in ruins, scattered across the vastness of space. Earth had withstood the onslaught, defending its very existence against an enemy that had underestimated humanity's strength, resilience, and sheer determination. But as the dust settled and the last of the Council's warships were destroyed, there was no celebration. There was no cheer, just the overwhelming silence that comes after war. The kind of silence that rings louder than any explosion or cry of victory. Captain Elias Kane stood on the war-torn surface of Earth, his boots sinking slightly into the scorched earth as he gazed out at the remnants of the battle. The sky above was a swirling mess of debris and broken ships, some of which were still slowly falling toward Earth, while others drifted helplessly into space. Smoke billowed from what had once been major cities, now reduced to nothing more than a memory of what they used to be. Humanity had paid a heavy price for survival. There was no joy in Elias's heart as he stood there. He had led the charge, guided his men through the most harrowing of battles, and witnessed the loss of so many lives, including those of friends and comrades who had given everything for the cause. And while Earth was victorious, the cost had been unimaginable. Bonner's younger brother had died during the fight for the final stronghold, his sacrifice etched forever into Elias's mind. The grief was palpable, but it was overshadowed by the pride he felt for his people, the unyielding, relentless force that had refused to bow to the will of the Galactic Council. The ground beneath him was a testament to the devastation of the final assault. Alien ships, some of the most advanced war machines the galaxy had ever seen, lay broken and destroyed, their once fearsome weapons now useless, scattered across the battlefield, a symbol of humanity's resilience. Elias could still hear the echoes of battle in his ears, the crackling of energy blasts, the deafening roar of exploding ships, the screams of soldiers who had given their lives to protect their world. It had all led to this moment. Earth had won, but at what cost? As Elias stood there, contemplating the heavy price of their victory, a voice crackled over his communicator. It was his second-in-command, Lieutenant Claire Dawson. "Captain, we've secured the area. The Council's last stronghold has fallen. The war is over." Elias closed his eyes for a moment, letting the weight of the words sink in. The war was over, but the battle within him raged on. He knew he had to do something, say something, to make the galaxy understand that this was not a fluke, not a random act of rebellion. Humanity had stood up against an empire that thought it was invincible. The Galactic Council had mocked Earth, underestimated humanity's strength, and now they knew the price of their mistake. With a deep breath, Elias activated the communication relay, broadcasting a message to the galaxy. He knew this would be heard by every corner of the galaxy, from the deepest reaches of space to the farthest alien colonies. His voice was steady but filled with the weight of everything he had just witnessed. "This is Captain Elias Kane of the Earth Defense Fleet," he began, his voice strong but somber. "To the Galactic Council and to the rest of the galaxy, we warned you. You mocked us. You thought we were weak. You thought we were nothing more than a primitive species, unworthy of notice. But you were wrong." Elias paused for a moment, the gravity of his words sinking in. "We fought for our survival, yes, but we also fought for our future. For the future of every human who has ever lived, for every man, woman, and child who calls Earth their home. We fought because we refused to be slaves to a council that thought it could control us. And we won." The words echoed through the void of space, and for a brief moment, the galaxy fell silent. Elias could feel the tension, the weight of the message carrying far beyond Earth's atmosphere. His mind raced as he thought of all the lives lost, the sacrifices made, and the long road ahead for his people. Earth had won, but victory always comes with a price. It wasn't just the soldiers on the battlefield who had given everything. They were the lucky ones. They had died with honor. The true cost of victory was yet to be seen. This victory was not without sacrifice. Elias continued, his voice cracking slightly as he thought of Bonner, of all the fallen soldiers. We've lost heroes, men and women who gave everything so that we could stand here today. Their memories will live on in every corner of our world. We will carry their legacy forward. His words carried the weight of the war, the deep sorrow that came with the realization that so many lives had been lost for this moment. But there was a quiet strength in his tone, a determination that was unmistakable. To those who mocked us, who thought we were nothing more than ants beneath their feet, we have one thing to say: you have learned your lesson. Humanity is not to be underestimated. As Elias stood there, watching the sky above him, a sense of finality began to settle over him. The war was over, but the echoes of it would resonate for generations. Earth had won, but the future was uncertain. He knew that the galaxy would never forget what had happened, and he knew that this victory, hard-won and costly as it was, would serve as a warning to any who might consider challenging humanity again. The camera zoomed in on Elias's face as he spoke his final words, his expression a mixture of determination and somber reflection. His eyes, filled with both sadness and defiance, looked directly into the camera. "We warned you," he said again, his voice steady but filled with the weight of a history now written in blood. "You mocked us. Now you know what happens when you mess with humanity." The camera lingered for a moment longer, capturing the raw emotion on his face, before pulling back to reveal the war-torn landscape stretching out before him. The remnants of the destroyed alien fleet floated in the distance, drifting aimlessly in the vastness of space. The stars twinkled faintly overhead, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. But as the screen began to fade to black, the distant sound of engines could be heard, echoing from the dark reaches of space, a subtle reminder that humanity's story was far from over. Earth had won, but the road ahead would not be easy. There would be more battles to fight, more challenges to face. But Elias knew that as long as humanity had the will to fight, they would never be defeated. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson, and humanity's message had been sent. They were not just survivors. They were warriors, and they would never back down.